wanted to push this how far he could take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I listened to some of his show. I got to tell you that one show that I liked was the one with Al. What's his name? Al Bielek about Philadelphia experiment.
Oh yeah,
that was a hell of an interview. But yeah, he had a way with words. Let's say that.
Yeah, I really miss him.
Yeah, I do too. He was good. He was one of a kind.
Yeah, and then one of my and I didn't realize it. I guess there is a entertainer out of Las Vegas who imitates people. You know, like they used to have the impersonators for Elvis Presley and Liberace and all these people. This guy is impersonating Art Bell, and he does some shows and puts it on the internet. You know, a guy kind of sounds like Art Bell, but you know what? That to me, that's a ripoff.
Yeah, because it is a ripoff because there's only one Art Bell, and it shouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't attempt to. No, I just let him rest in peace for the love of God.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, and then there's speculation about, Art, how he died and all that stuff. You know what? I just kind of let things go because I don't know how he died. I don't know if it died from, a combination of muscle relaxers and pain pills, or maybe, I don't know. I can honestly say that Art was rather depressed the last time I talked to him. Actually, was depressed the last month or two I talked to him.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know what everything he went through in a totality of mentally and physical, and he wasn't a spring chicken either. So we truly nobody really knows.
He was only a few years older than me. I knew something was wrong with Art one day when I got a text from him. I was saying how old I was, and he came back and he mentioned his age, and he kind of was like, well, my time is almost up, and he was really bummed out about it.
Damn, yeah. So, you knew him personally, so you knew a lot more than most people, as far as that goes.
Well, I wasn't his chum where I saw him every day. We'd talk a couple times a month, but that went on for years. But yeah, he was there when I needed him. Certainly, he overtalked me in buying too much equipment for my studio. I can tell you that much.
He got you hooked on buying equipment. I remember last summer alone, you'd be out doing lives. I'm getting some more equipment.
Yeah, that's what it started getting that way. It was like, oh, gee, I need to improve my sound. It was never ending. In fact, before I fell, I got 2 huge boxes I'm looking at right now, which would go out and buy a nice used car that need to be put into the server racks. That they're going to have to wait to whenever, but that's how it's like an obsession, like you go gamble or you go to the bar and you spend all your money drinking. In my case, it was buying better equipment to make my show sound better.
Well, I got one strong piece of advice for you, and that is do not sell your motorcycle yet because you're going to ride it again.
No, I don't want to. But you know why?
You don't want to?
I don't.
You don't want to. You don't want to. That's a different story. But
I don't want to.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to, that's okay. But don't get rid of it because you don't think you can. Because I know you can ride it again if you want to.
I don't want to because you know what? I crashed one time in my life riding that bike. 1,085 pounds come crashing down on me and sliding down that hill, and I got by with this, like a sprained leg at that time. But you know what? At my age, I'm not young anymore. I'm 67. By God.
Listen, age is just a number. Look at me. I'm 74 years old.
Yeah, how about 50? Stop your lying. Jesus.
I was going to come out next month with this stuff that makes you look, fit and young for, at least 20 years younger. Now you blew it.
What are you trying to tell everybody? You're 70-some years old, for you can go hit up women in the nursing home or something?
Yeah, damn it, you found me out.
Yeah.
No, I got my girlfriend. She's listening now, Patty. She's an amazing lady.
Well, all ladies are amazing until you've been married 40-some years, and I can tell you different type of stories.
Well, I got to tell you something. I'm still trying to picture in my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm coming home from a week vacation about 4 days early, and I used my wife's car, and it's got a dent in it from Bigfoot.
Okay, you're going to bring that up about the Bigfoot. You rub that into me.
I just can't. That is the greatest event, I couldn't imagine telling my wife that. Like, she would slap me in the face.
Boy, did she yell and swear at me. And if she heard that, what you just said again, it would start another fight just like that.
Oh, Lord. I
Okay.
didn't know that.
I don't care if you guys out there want to believe me or not. A friend of mine who was a medical doctor in Puyallup, Washington, his father at the time was a Superior Court judge in Pierce County, Washington. His brother was a high-powered criminal attorney in Tacoma, Washington. We decided to go on a road trip up to the Canadian Rockies to take pictures because that was the time frame I took a break out of broadcasting. So we take, I tell my wife I'm going to go on this road trip. I had a Jeep, it maybe has 60,000 miles on it. Off-road Jeep, but she goes, look, that's not going to be economical. I don't want it broke down. She just bought a new Cavalier. Yeah, that's right, a Cavalier at that time. And she says, take the Cavalier. So we were out there going up to the Canadian Rockies. I think it was like early June. So, being the Canadian Rockies, you had beautiful, beautiful rivers, lakes, ponds everywhere. But there was still snow off in areas on the road. It was still cold up there yet in places.
Wow.
So we went up to an old internment camp that they put Japanese prisoners in during World War II. We were photographing what was left of the cemetery, what was left of the internment camp. And all I'm going to say, I'm not going to get into the frickin' story. But my friend says, look at that bear across the creek. And across the creek at the internment camp, there was a base of a mountain because I guess they had silver mines everywhere there. And it was an old mine there. He says, look at that huge bear. So I took my camera and I focused on that bear and I realized that was not a bear. And
wow.
the story is, okay, after I pissed my pants and ran about 2 miles or so through the woods to get back to the car, which was on a side road, we ran into some type of creature that knew how to bend a tree over and throw a huge rock. And
I got to tell you, your adrenaline must have been maxed out running to that car.
Yeah, I probably, even worse than when I was in the military. But I can say that here's my friend, a medical doctor. He's opening up the car door. I already had the car started. I already put it in drive, and I'm dragging him. I'm surprised I didn't kill him and ran over him. It was scary.
Wow.
And, I stopped and naturally I let him get in. But I tell you, that's how scared I was. What's that weird noise coming off of your end? Like beep beeps and all this stuff?
Yes, my daggone phone. I got it on silent and it's making noise. I don't understand that.
Are you still running Facebook Live in the background and all this stuff?
Yeah. I do have a Facebook Live on, but it's having problems hearing you. And I'm trying everything while I'm doing live, but I'm going to have to work the kink out of that somehow or other.
Yeah, you do. Because, it's if you want to hear some horns in the background, here.
No, I just turned my phone off. I got it on silent. It's making noise. I don't understand. It's a brand new phone. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm bad about electronics. And speaking of electronics,
have you got the bill? Have you got the bill yet from my wife?
Oh, not yet. I'm waiting.
$19.95.
Okay, what's that cost? What's that for again?
$1,995 for getting you back up on your computer, back up online.
Oh, sweet. That's not bad. As long as it stays under that 1996, I'm good.
So I got to ask you a question. You've gotten into having a guest on your show like me. I've had a lot. Like Calvin Parker called me up tonight. He was scheduled to be on tonight, and I had to explain to him because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of guests I got to contact because I'm sure they're pissed off at me. Because, laying in bed under morphine drip and then all the other stuff I was at the start and then all the other pain pills they gave me, I didn't even really think much of the show. And I want to apologize to any of the people who are supposed to be guests on my show that might be listening. I apologize. But that is the closest I ever have come close of feeling like I was dying. So, I didn't think of the show. For the first couple of weeks I was in bed, I didn't care.
My God, listen, I can assure you, I know you, Gary. I can assure everybody, listen, it was not by your choice to be in that bed because I know exactly where you love to be. Your passion is doing your show. I can assure you didn't want to be laid up in bed with two bad knees, two bad ankles, a messed up pelvis, a back thrown out, and your liver and kidneys shutting down. I'm sure you'd rather not have all that and be doing your show.
Oh, yeah. The show has like become a major part of my life. And what I enjoy, and that's again, too, talking back about Art, the last time I talked to him, I told him, what I like, and it was the same way when he used to work in the station in Vegas, he was getting burned out. Going and doing his own show, regardless if it was through whatever network, okay, which he had a little bit of stake in it, it's so much more relaxing because, when I used to do talk radio, working for, KVAC or KOHI or some of those stations years and years ago, right? I had to conform to their station, and do what they told me to do.
Right.
What I like about my show is, I do my own thing. I find my own guests. I interview them. And I enjoy doing what I do.
Right. There's nothing more rewarding than having your own show. You're pretty much your own boss, your own producer and director or whatnot. And nobody can tell you what to do or who your guests are or what you can say, what you can ask, what you can't do. I mean, that's, then it becomes not fun when it becomes more of something you have to do or a job or something.
Well, it does. It takes the fun out of it. Yeah, and I can interview the way I like interviewing, like this talking like we're talking now. I find I got more information out of my guests than doing it the old way. But, I tell you what, it was kind of hard, too, trying to keep the show on the internet, where you didn't have to pay a monthly fee or you didn't have to listen to advertising. That was good because, I at one point before all this crap hit me, I was up to 35 radio stations. And you
kept growing and growing. Yeah, you did. Right.
And, my goal is, again, I'm going to basically cut the show down to a couple days a week through July to get my strength up. August, I plan to, work on getting back as many stations as I can. Hopefully I'll get some of those stations back and some new ones. But, one thing, I'm going to keep the advertising pretty much off the internet side. And that's the agreements I made for those radio stations that carry me. I said, hey, we'll take a break at this such and such time. You run your commercials. And it was working out good. But I will say this, being retired and being an old fart, I carry pretty much all the expenses myself. I don't have to, how can I say it? Or when you have all these radio stations on there, they don't pay you at all.
No. Right. And you being laid up for a month, you still had those bills coming in, even though you had no product going out.
Oh, yeah. In fact, one station, I was paying them $3,500 a month to carry my show. All the other 34 stations, they carried it for free. But this was a big station, and to me, it was worth paying them the $3,500 a month. It really hurt, paying them for a month I wasn't on. And, I decided, I had to let that go. But we'll see how things go again shortly.
I can tell you this much, Gary, as long as you get yourself healthy again, do your show, only what you can do, 2 shows a week, whatever, until you build up to whatever. And I'm sure with your product that you put out a quality product with quality guests, you will get those stations back, or maybe other ones are better ones.
Oh, yeah. And I'll have Calvin Parker and all these people back on. Timothy Cullen, who was had an implant removed from Dr. Roger Lear. I mean, I have all these great guests that you find on like the big shows. I have them on my show, and they actually enjoyed being on my show because they weren't all stressed out either. We could just talk like we're talking.
Right, and Calvin was on my show, and I got to tell you, that was I still listen to it. It's a spine-chilling interview. With Calvin was on my show. It was just amazing.
Well, one thing I hit him with, I asked, I said, your abduction with these aliens, did you feel they're here to serve man, or did you feel like they were evil? And his words were evil. And, it's funny. Mm-hmm. The majority of people I've interviewed that claim that they were abducted, they always tell me the same thing. They weren't here to serve man. They didn't feel like they were orbs coming out of the aliens. They felt that they were they had evil reasons to be here.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, go ahead.
The orbs that come out, are they warm and fuzzy?
No, and hey, if you want to believe a Bigfoot or an alien gives